Hi, Chag Sameach.
Kavod Harav, Chag Sameach. How are you?
Thank God.
Baruch Hashem.
All right, sorry to make you wait. Okay, so we'll go back to our original topic. I guess we must have finished the chapter because it's not showing up here. So
Yud Gimel is, I think we did finish it.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Yud Gimel?
Noon Gimel, right?
Yud or Nun? I have Yud here, Gimel, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, maybe you're talking about the Seif Halacha. So you're saying we finished that or no?
Hold on a minute. I don't have notes on the Shulchan Aruch on that, but I don't see here.
I see.
Maybe we study the Shulchan Aruch first and then Bet Yosef because of the order, no?
Yeah, let me just see what's going on here. Yeah.
We're talking about the Hassan of being a God-fearing person.
Right.
That was extremely important. So the prayer doesn't get...
Yes. So yeah, all I have here is a tour. So it seems like we started the tour on Nun Gimel.
Nun, right? Not Yud, correct? Nun.
Nun Gimel, yeah.
Thank
you. Right, so we said that the Chazan has to be worthy.
God-fearing person with
Yes.
Iryat Shamayim, good character traits. He has to be
Right.
liked by the community and so on, yeah?
Yes. Okay, so he brings the Gemara over here, right? It says like this. Amarav Zutra Bar Tuvia. This rabbi says, Amarav, the name of Rav. Veitem Rav Elazar. Some say it was this rabbi. So if you have somebody who's not fitting and he goes to pray, so it says, who is fitting to pray? Who's called fitting? So it says, Zeshehu Rekan Me'aberot. First of all, he doesn't have any sins.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Pirkona. So what that means is that when he grew up, he had a good reputation. He wasn't a bad boy, with a bad reputation.
Yes. We have that in here, yeah. Bal Teshuva or a convert can also be a Hassan, yeah?
Yes. So, what would be an example of somebody who does sins? Like somebody who shaves with a razor, for instance, He's not fitting to be a Chazan. That would be one example. It's very common, by the way, this problem in our times. A lot of these handsome chazanim, who have good-looking, cute faces. They want to look really, really good, so they shave with a razor, but they don't realize that they're disqualifying themselves. This is the problem, So we have to tell them, sorry, but it's either or, right? Either you shave with a razor or you're going to be a chazan. You can't have it both ways. That's one example, right? Of somebody who... usually, by the way, this is the most common problem, the issue with shaving with a razor. But there's also other issues that can arise, obviously. Okay, so anyway, right, let's go on. So it says, also another thing, it says, Torah, somebody who, is accustomed to learn Torah. So what does that mean? He reads the Bible, right? 5 books of Moses, prophets, the holy writings. He reads these things. So, the lowest level of study is this, right? That you learn Bible, because a person who's already a chacham is already higher than that. You know what I mean? So at least he should do that much, at least read the Bible a little bit. So he should be connected with the Torah. That's the idea. Not like today, people that today are learning Kabbalah, they haven't even studied Bible yet, they're a little bit jumping ahead of themselves. I don't know why people do these kinds of strange things. I'm not really sure what the purpose is. But, don't you think like you should learn Bible before you get into Kabbalah?
Do they have to learn every day, or just like...
I'm sorry?
Do they have to learn every day in the Bible, or do they...
Yeah, it doesn't really say every day, but it means that, he's regular in it, on a regular basis. So the iman motzi'in mi sheyesh bo kol hamidot hayalu. So he says, if you don't find somebody who has all these qualities, right, that we mentioned, ivcharu hatov shebetzibur bechokhma u'ma'asim tovim. So choose the best guy that you got in your community. What does that mean, the best guy? Not the one with the pretty face, we're not talking about that, right? So what are we talking about? More wisdom, right? And more good deeds. A person who's more righteous. Okay. Let's see the Bet Yosef. This is a very interesting topic. All right. So here's the Bet Yosef. It says, King Katva got by money. It says it's brought down also in this book, Beperk Zayin Milchot Tefillah, over there. It says Hamsaper Ben Ishtabach Leotzer Avera Hi Biado. He's going into this already, but that's interesting. Let me just make sure we're in the right place here. Yeah, okay, whatever. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, so he brings up something a little bit extra here that we didn't see in the tour. So he says over here, right, that a person who talks between Ishtabach and Yotzer, which is like the beginning of the Kriyat Shema, the blessings, it's a sin also, So what does that mean? You shouldn't think that you're allowed to talk there. You're not allowed to. לכן נהגו לומר ישתבח מעומד. So he says, therefore the custom became that they do yishtabach standing, right? This is what the Ashkenazim do. Kemo yotzer, like just like yotzer, just like the Kriyat Shema, sharei asur leapsik ben time, because you're not allowed to do some kind of interruption in between these two stages of prayer. וכן כתבו על kolbo, let's listen to kolbo, בסימן כף זין, בשם רב עמרם, in the name of רב עמרם, שיש לחזר לומר ישתבח בתפילת שחרית לפני התיבה, I'm sorry, יש לחזן, Chazan should say Ishtabach, right? In Shachrit, you should already go up to the Teba, to the podium there, right? Whatever. Me'omed, and he's already standing. In order to be ready to say Kaddish afterwards, because right after that you have to say Kaddish. B'katav Ma'arin, so says this rabbi, Chaviv, Ma'arin Chaviv, right? That's his name. Regarding this, he says, that's only on condition that he already said Baruch Shemar, which is the beginning of Psukkah Zimra. The Gam Kara Psukkah Zimra, he also read Psukkah Zimra, the Teidim that we read. The Chen Katav Maria, this is what it says, Maria al Divre Rabenu, regarding Rabenu. Al Tit'e Bazeh, so he says, don't make a mistake regarding this. Lomar Shematchil Ishtabach, you're going to start Ishtabach. Even though he didn't say Psukkah Zimra, why would you say Ishtabach, right? Because Ishtabach is going on the end of the Psukkah Zimra to finalize it, to conclude it. So if you didn't do that, then what's the point of saying Ishtabach? That's what he's trying to say. So he says, you should try to say, right, Ishtabach, already standing at the podium. Why? Because you should say Kaddish right afterwards. Klomar, to mean to say that Behu Shamar Chazan Gam Ken Baruch Shamar. That's only if the Chazan already said Baruch Shamar beforehand. Psukkah Zimra and Psukkah Zimra. She'im Lo Ken, because if not so, Heach Yomar Bracha Zo. How is he going to do just Ishtabach? Right? It doesn't fit in like that. Levada by itself. How can you do it by itself? Well, there has no purpose. So he says, whoever does this to say Ishtabach by itself without Psukkah Zimra, without Baruch Shamar, is mistaken, right? This is a mistake. You can't do it. So he says, why? Since it's a blessing which is close to its other blessing, another blessing, how would you say it without its partner, right? In other words, which partner are we talking about? Baruch She'amar is the partner of Ishtabach, right? These are like two blessings. One goes in the beginning of Psukkah Zimra, one goes at the end of Psukkah Zimra. It says, even though at the end of the first parak of brachot, Yud Bet Amud Aleph, Ikat Man De Amar, there is one that says, Shayu Omrim Birkat, that they were saying the blessing, Avat Olam, which is in the Kriyat Shema, Levada by itself, Kodem Shekru et Shema, before they read the Shema, Veshivarchu Yotzer Or, and then they're going to bless Yotzer Or, Lo Yalfinan Me'atam De'echad Itmar, because we don't learn from there, because that's really something else, it's a different story. Kriyat Shema has its own rules, and Ishtabach and Baruch Shema have their own rules. You can't learn one from the other. Echad Lo Itmar, wherever it wasn't said, it wasn't said. Okay, so since we don't find b'shum posek, any posek, and this kind of thing, and leshanot meseder shesdarum v'tiknum ken nireli, so therefore you shouldn't make any changes. So don't say Ishtabach by itself, right? It doesn't work that way. Can't do it. That's what it seems to me. It says, Katvat Tosfot, says Tosfot, Bepek Arwaim, Ahad Yaminan, right? Regarding that which you said, regarding the blessing of the rains, therefore it says, we should say both of them, Roba Odaot, Ve'ela Odaot, this and that, both of them, these languages, Rufichach says, therefore, Tiknu B'ishtabach, Achar Siyum Bracha, Baruch Ata Hashem, El melech gadol v'tishbachot el veladot. So he says, therefore they decreed to say Ishtabach after the end of this blessing. Okay, that's interesting. But I don't see the connection between this and the Torah. Let's see what the Shulchan Aruch says. Not really sure how that works here. Okay. So it says, right, Omer shliach tzibur ishtabach me'omed, right, that the Chazan should say ishtabach standing, right? So by the way, you have to read this the proper way, right? That the Chazan should do it, but not the rest of the people. The rest of the people don't need to stand. But as we said, right, that by the Ashkenazim, the custom is to stand. Everybody stands for ishtabach. But by the Sfaradim, only the Chazan stands. So what's the reason why? As we said, right, because we want that you should say Kaddish afterwards. So you should be ready to say Kaddish. So he stands up there, ready to go for Kaddish and Kriyat Shema. That's the reason why he should be standing. But the rest of the people are not saying Kaddish. They're just answering Amen. So therefore, they don't need to be standing. But here's the thing, right? That when it comes to the Ashkenazim, also when they answer Kaddish, they stand, So by then, you see it's a whole series of things here. They say Ishtabach standing, and then they answer Kaddish also standing. So they're standing for the whole thing. By us, it's only the Chazan who stands. So that's the difference. Okay. So it seems like the Bet Yosef and Shulchan Aruch has skipped over all this language that we saw in the Torah regarding the quality of the Chazan. Maybe we'll see that later on somewhere. So let's see what's going on. I'll go back to the Torah and see what he wants to do here. Right, so he goes on. Let's read the Torah a little bit more. So it says, so it says another thing is that we don't appoint somebody to be Chazan unless he has a beard, right? In other words, not that he actually grew a beard, but he's already able to grow a beard. He's already got stubble. That's the idea. So he has to be old enough to grow a beard. That's what we're saying. But he says, what about a person who just has two hairs, So what does that mean? He doesn't really have a full beard at all. He just has two pubic hairs. So he's already gadol, he's bar mitzvah, but he doesn't have a full beard. So what about him? So it says, so a person like this, he says, can go to be Chazan once in a while, not every day, not every time. We don't want somebody so young like that to be a full-time Chazan, Some 13-year-old kid, leading the whole community. It's not proper. So when does usually the beard get full? I don't know, maybe the age of 18. I'm not really sure, right? Some even younger, right? Whatever, right? Something like that. Full beard. Full stubble. What do you say about that, David? Okay, he's not answering. But anyway, he knows about those things. Okay, so interesting. Let's go on. So he says, but he says, however, Lemanoto en memaninoto, but it says we don't appoint him to be permanent if he's that young. אפילו אם יש אחר ממונה, אלא שממנה זה תחתיו.
No, I heard. I'm sorry.
No, what do you say about that?
What do I say about it? It's a famous topic.
When does a young man get a full beard?
I think I remember when we started shaving. No, late junior high.
Junior high, you're saying?
Yeah.
Like, what age are you talking about?
Well, you get usually some fuzz on your chin, and the sideburns start to sprout.
I'm talking about a full beard.
Oh, full beard. Believe it or not, that doesn't end like. Remember, we started shaving, but we needed to be in our early 20s until the sides of the mustache actually connected with the beard.
What about 18? What do you say? 18 is good?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, more or less. I agree with you. Okay, very good. We agree. Okay, so
actually, I'm surprised that Georgian guys don't start shaving at the age of 5.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What about the girls? Okay.
The girls are hairier than the guys.
Okay, we won't get into that. No.
You opened the door for that one, Rabbi.
Okay. All right. So it's an inside joke. Okay. So I had to.
Well, you know what? Actually, it's a complicated topic because a lot of men, some men don't even have a healthy growing beard. They hardly have hair.
Right. That's
like
true.
Asian
Very
men,
true.
Chinese men.
Right.
Chinese men hardly shave.
Interesting. Okay, so that's the story, right? Yeah. Okay, so
and I've seen a lot of Ashkenazi guys and Sephardic guys that don't hardly have any facial hair.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, very good. So let's go on a little bit. So it says that right. So in other words, if he's not on that level, you should make it like temporary only. So it says we don't appoint him even if there's somebody else already appointed. Even as a substitute, we don't appoint him, he says. Interesting. To pray, at certain times. This language of the Rosh, he says. So he says, he writes in the Tshuva, that what you wrote, that they're accustomed to doing these places, lemanot bezuye mishpachot l'shluchei tzibur. Wow, look what it says, incredible, right? So he says, in these places, unfortunately, he says, they became accustomed to put people to be chazan who are, from dysfunctional families, something like that, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So he says it's a disgrace to people like this, like punky guys, punks. We don't want to put punks up there. כאילו אינו כדאי ליוחסין שבישראל אלא קשר אומנויות וחלילה להיות מלאכת השם אומנות אלא אתה דרוש גם אני התרעמתי. So he says, let's just get this language straight here. Right. So in other words, what he's trying to say is that what we really want is people from good families, who are known to be really on the ball, in Judaism. People like this, right? Good families, solid people, solid families. religious, good behavior, with a good name, and proper lineage, Jewish lineage. So he says now they're making it some kind of other profession, like just take anybody you feel like, doesn't regardless of what kind of Jews they are, what kind of families they are. So it says, so he says, I was shocked, he says, when I came to see who are the chazanim of this in this land, right? That I came to. I says, I'm not really complaining about your case. Ki talita hadavar biyachas mishpacha. Says you because you made this dependent on the lineage of the family. So but it's not so. This is my eyes. He says, "Hamakom im hu meuchas v'rasha ma tolet lifnei hamakom b'yachas shelo." So he says like this, right? That what doesn't help you if he's from a good family, but he himself is a rasha, That doesn't help you. We don't want somebody like that. So it's not only family lineage that we're looking for. We also need somebody who's righteous, That's more important than family lineage. So he says, but he says if he's from a bad family, dysfunctional family, right? The tzaddik tov likaret ben zara lechokim. But he says that he himself is a tzaddik, he did tshuva, whatever, right? Became a good boy, grew up well. So he says, I'm not complaining about that. In other words, as long as the boy is good, even though his family's not so good, I don't care. Fine. So it says, what the problem is? There's a different problem. That the people in this land that I live in, he says, what the problem is? They like somebody with a nice voice, good voice, impressive, sweet voice. So he says, even if he's a wicked person, totally wicked, they could care less as long as the guy's got a good voice, and that's not right to do it this way. You know what I mean? To prefer the voice over, the character of the chazan. Not proper to treat it like that. Smart words, right? Obviously. Yeah. הקדוש ברוך הוא אומר, נתנה עליי בקולה, על כן שנאתיה. So Hashem says, right, that he hates, just the good voice. What do I need that, right? I need also a good person. ומה שכתבת שממנים חזן להתפלל כל השבוע. So is that what you wrote? That they appoint the chazan to pray all week, קודם שנתמלא זקנו, even though he doesn't have a full beard. וסומכים על זה שיש להם חזן אחר. And they rely on the fact that they have a different chazan also, שמתפלל בשבת, that plays on Shabbat, וביום כניסה טעות, and also the day of כניסה, which is probably holidays, whatever. טעות says, this is a mistake. Or maybe Knisa means like fast days, whatever it is. Anyway, people that when they gather, a lot of people gather together. Ta'utu says that's a mistake. Kihu nikra chazan kabua. Anyway, it's called a permanent chazan, even though they have another guy also who supplements him. Shemanu litpalel because they appointed him to pray. So even though there's somebody else there who's appointed as well with him, but dafka be'akrai. Only he says we can allow what? Like once in a while, once in a blue moon, we can allow this guy to pray. Even though he doesn't have a full beard. But not somebody who's appointed. Somebody else can pray. So if he has 2 hairs, as we said, right, it's not enough. So therefore, a person like this should never be appointed to be chazan, even with somebody else, in conjunction with somebody else. So what should it be? It should be that he just goes up once in a while, once in a blue moon, we send him up, for training, whatever, God knows, right? Whatever it is, right? I can tell you, by the way, that Maran, Rabbi Shalom, he was very strict about this, in his shul, that he never allowed, people like haphazardly to pray there. Just whoever like feels like going up. That wasn't the way it worked over there. He had basically, like one chazan who was appointed to be always the chazan. And there was somebody also like who took his place once in a while. Happened to be a friend of mine, by the way. His name was Danielov. Whatever, right? But anyway, the point is, right, that there was no monkey business going on there, young people, kids, bar mitzvah boys, things like this. They never went up to pray at the rabbi's minyan. Never. No such a thing like that. And by the way, that applies also even if they had a yortzeit, for death anniversary of some relative. They wanted to pray for their soul. No difference. He wouldn't allow them to go up. There was no such a thing like that over there. No such thing. There was a chazan kavua. He was appointed. Nobody else was going up there. And if the chazan happened to be not there for some reason, he would look for like the best guy there, who knows how to pray properly, and he would let him go, as temporarily until the chazan comes back. So the rabbi was very strict about these things, and that's one of the things that made it into a great minyan, over there to pray there. It was really very holy because of that, because of all these, stringent, very, very strict standards for prayers and other things. So it was quite professional there. No mistakes, you couldn't go up there and make mistakes. No such a thing like that. Whether you're going up to pray or to read the Torah, right? No mistakes, no such a thing. If they would make one mistake, it would be like, a scandal, scandalous, oh my God. It's like, that's the way it was. People are very strong over there, it's a different world over there. Okay, so anyway, as we said, right, that another thing he says is that what? And he says the two, right? So it says the tour. Another problem is, that we shouldn't appoint somebody who speaks, inaccurately, doesn't know how to pronounce properly the words. He doesn't know how to read properly, how to pronounce properly. And by the way, this is a big problem, today, unfortunately, especially in America. I see that it's a big problem. A lot of people are going up there, who don't know how to read properly. It's a shame, They can't even, they sound like, I don't know, something from outer space. I don't know what they're talking about, these people. How they read, they don't know how to read. Just, recently somebody went up to read the Haftarah, on Shabbat. I happened to be there. And, he was making like mistakes one after the other, like, maybe 50 mistakes in one Haftarah. Unbelievable, it goes like, oh my God, what kind of thing is this? But even if you're not making mistakes, right, what are we saying over here? You have to have a good accent, proper accent for Hebrew. That's also important, So now here's the thing, right, that every community has a different accent, right? Ashkenazim, Sfaradim, Temanim, Yemenites, right? So each one should go according to his accent that they do over there, right? In order to, to fit in with the community, right? Obviously, right? If you go, nobody's going to make you into a chazan in an Ashkenazi shul if you read like a Sephardi all the time, They're not going to want that. Maybe once in a while they let you go up, what I mean? But not all the time. They don't want. They want their own custom, So that's the thing, you have to go according to the custom of the shul, whatever it may be, So that's important to know. Okay, very good. So that's the idea. But okay. So let me see what happens in the Bet Yosef if he addresses these things at all. Very interesting. Okay, he starts from Dalet, right? Okay, so he starts from Dalet. Okay, that whole thing with the tour. So we'll catch up to that. We'll do the Bet Yosef a little bit. We'll catch up there, and we'll get to that topic that we just discussed. So it says over here in Gimel, we gotta do first Shulchan Aruch Bet. I'm sorry, Shulchan Aruch Bet. It says Shulchan Aruch, En lomar ishtabach ela im ken amar baruch she'amar. As we said, right in the Bet Yosef, if you didn't say baruch she'amar, which is the beginning of Sukkot Zibra, you're not allowed to say ishtabach either, because it's like a pair of brachot. You know, one goes to do with the other. You can't have one without the other. The Ktsat Psukkot Zimra. Also, you have to say little Psukkot Zimra. So what does that mean? Little Psukkot Zimra. At least Ashrei, right? If you said Ashrei, you're good. You know, you can do it. If you said nothing, you didn't even do one paragraph, or whatever. So what's the point of making these blessings? You know, for what? These blessings are Psukkot Zimra. So if you didn't do the Psukkot Zimra, anything, how can you make the blessings on them, right? What's the point? That's what we're saying over here. Okay, very good. Let's go to Gimel. Bet Yosef. So it says Bet Yosef, Katava Kobo. It says Kobo. Siman Hey, Omed HaChazan umitatef b'tzitzit. The Chazan gets up, right, and he wraps himself with a tzitzit. Umvarech Asher Kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu leitatef b'tzitzit. Right, he blesses this blessing for the talit, to put on the talit. V'yored lifnei hateva. Then he goes and prays, right, to poteach ishtabach. And he does ishtabach. Ad kan. So says Bet Yosef regarding this, ואיני יודע מי דחקו להפסיק בברכת עטיפה לציצית שלו לצורך. So he says, I don't know what forced him over here to make the blessing of putting tzitzit without a need, he says. והבה לממר שיברך על עטיפת ציצית. So he should have said like this, right, the more proper way. First, he should wrap himself with tzitzit, kodem baruch she'amar, before baruch she'amar, right? In other words, he's complaining over here about the kobo, because the kobo seems to be saying like this, you know, that he goes up to say ishtabach, and before ishtabach he puts on tzitzit. But the tzitzit he should have put already a long time ago when he started the prayers, you know. Why is he putting the tzitzit now? Why is he putting the talit now? So the proper thing to do is to put the talit when you start praying beforehand. And then when you go up to be chazan, it should already be on you. So you don't need to bless again now. For that, that's his gripe over here. Okay, very good. So let's see the Shulchan Aruch on this. So he says like this, Shulchan Aruch, "En levarech al atifat tzitzit ben psuket zimra leishtabach." You shouldn't bless on putting tzitzit between psuket zimra and ishtabach, right? That's not the proper time to do that. Ela ben ishtabach leitzer. Rather, you should do, if you have to put tzitzit at that time, the proper time to do it is after ishtabach, before you start yotzer, before you start Kriyat Shema. That's the more proper thing to do. So says the Rama, Miu, a shliach tzibur, says, however, the shliach tzibur, im lo haya lo talit techila. Let's say he didn't have a talit at the beginning, right? He didn't have one. Tatef et tzitzit kodem yishtabach, the yishatchil yishtabach. So let him put tzitzit before yishtabach, kadesh yomar a kaddish, in order that he should say the kaddish miyad afterwards. After Yishtabach, but לא יפסיק, not make a hepsek there, not make interruption. לכן אם אין מניין בבית הכנסת. Also, it says if there's no minyan in the shul, ימתין השליח ציבור עם השתבח, let him wait with ישתבח, וישתוק and be silent עד שיבוא minyan, until minyan comes. ויאמר ישתבח וקדיש, and then say ישתבח וקדיש. So you see from here, right, that the Rama here is arguing with the Shulchan Aruch, right, the different custom here, right? So according to Shulchan Aruch, the proper time to put your talit, if you didn't already put it beforehand, as we said, right? You should have put it before. But if you didn't, and you're the chazan, and now you're going up there. So according to Baran, you should do this, but after Ishtabach. But the Ramah says better to do it before Ishtabach. Why? Because then when you finish Ishtabach, you can go right straight to Kaddish, without making an interruption. This is more like a smooth flow to the prayers, So that's the story there, right? That's two different ways of looking at it. Okay. Interesting. Let's go on. So then he says in the Bet Yosef, it seems like I took it down by mistake. I have to bring it up again. Okay, so now we're going to Daled, Bet Yosef. So now we're getting to the issue of the Chazan, right, that we discussed in the tour. But it has to be proper fitting purpose of fitting. So where is this brought down all this thing about the Shliach Tzibur, right, the Chazan being a fitting person? Perek Sheni de Taniot, it's in Tanit, Masechet Tanit, Tet Zayin Amud Bet, over there. 16b. He brings the source. So then he goes on, right? What is considered to be somebody who's fitting? It's also there. It says the Gemara, explains the Gemara there. My pirko na'eh. What does it mean that is pirko na'eh? I explained it, right, that he had a good childhood, right? He had a good name when he was a kid. Shelo yatsa lo shem ra b'yalduto. That means he never had a bad name when he was a kid. Bad reputation. Piresh Rashi, Rashi explains, afilu keshe'amad al bacharuto haya na'eh beli shem ra. So he says that means that even when he was a kid, teenager, whatever, right? He never had a bad name for being one of those bad boys, the street boys, punky boys, being a punk with all its right trimmings, all those things. You know what it is, right? I don't have to tell you. So the Shefal Barech, right? And then he says also he should be somebody who's humble, as we said, right? Rashi explains, right? Peresh Rashi Anav, he's a humble person. So also we need some humility there, we don't want some kind of a, arrogant, Chazan, hotshot, some kind of these kind of people, should have a proper character. And then he says, so people should like him as well, right? That's what it says there, people should like him. He should be well liked. So what does that mean? He says that he's nice to people, he treats people nicely, and therefore they like his, they agree that he should be the leader of the prayers. They agree. So then he goes on, right? Neima also should have some good voice, right? Nice voice, right? Besume kala shemoshech halev. So you look what it says, right? You should have a type of a voice which, is appealing to the hearts, right? So in other words, when you hear him praying, you get inspired, like, oh, wow. Oh my God, I feel so good. One of those guys. Ragil likrot, right? So it says also a person who is regular to read As we said, right? What does that mean? That he studies Bible, he learns Bible, he reads Bible. So he says, what's the purpose of that? So he says, we want him to be fluent with the verses from the Bible, because a lot of them are found in the prayers. So that's why when he reads, the Bible, he becomes fluent, so he knows how to pronounce things. This is what it says in Shibur Leket, Psikta de Rabati, the Eser Ta'aser Kediv. It says Aser Ta'aser in the Pasuk. Kaved et Adonai mehonecha. So it says, what does that mean? Honor God from your wealth, from your possessions. Krebe mechenecha. So we learn, right? What does that mean? Your possessions, your grace. In other words, whatever you have is good qualities. Whatever God gave you talents, you should honor Him with the talent that God gave you. So what does that mean? If God gave you a good voice, and you stand in the synagogue, Amud ukaved et Adonai b'kolecha. So Amud, right? Stand and honor God. What does that mean? By praying, right, for the community. So now he brings you a story over here, right? Navot haya kolo na'eh. So he says there was one guy called Navot, right? It was brought down in the book of Kings. It's a whole story over there, but this guy was killed by the king Achav. They had some kind of a land dispute going on, and whatever. So what happened was that his voice was very good. He used to come to Jerusalem. And all Israel would come to hear his voice. Can you imagine? Wow. So it says, Pam Achad Lo Allah. So one time he says he didn't go up to Jerusalem to sing over there. So what happened was that because of that, he got punished, that the people testified against him, false witnesses, and they falsely accused them, right? All kinds of things. And he lost his life like that, right? What caused him this, that he got killed like that? He didn't go up to Jerusalem to honor God. Wow. That God graced him, with good voice. So he says, why? Because the Torah said, right? That nobody will be jealous of your land if you go up to the temple for the holidays. So it says, if he would have gone up, he wouldn't have lost his life. What caused him to lose his life? Because he didn't go up that year to sing in the temple, to be chazan over there. So that was quite a strong punishment that he got. Can you imagine? Just for not going up. Lost his life. Incredible. Okay, so let's see the Shulchan Aruch on this very strong material. So the general rule is, that whatever God graced you with, you should use it to sanctify His name. If He graced you with a talent, with some kind of, intelligence or whatever it is, right? You should use that to sanctify the name of God. Good. Okay, so let's see.
Disturbing stuff.
Yeah, it is. I'm not even going to tell you the whole story because it's quite it's quite shocking. Maybe if I get a chance, I will. I'll tell you the whole story. This way you really understand what happened over there. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's why Dio passed away, David. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, so it says like this, right? That Shulchan Aruch goes through all the qualities of the Chazan, right? Shliach tzibur tzarich sheyeh hagun. Has to be somebody fitting, right? To be shliach tzibur, to be Chazan. Vezeu gam. So what is fitting? What does that mean? Sheyeh rekan me'averot. First of all, no sins, right? No shaving with a razor, right? No eating Big Macs, quarter pounders, right? All kinds of stuff like that. V'shelo yatsa alav shem ra. Afilu bi'aduto. He had never had a bad name in his childhood. Didn't have a bad reputation. Also, he's humble, and people like him. He's well liked. Also, he has a good voice. Nice. Right? So he sings well, and he has a good voice also. Because some people they have a good technique in singing, but their voice is not so good. Like kind of flimsy, kind of like sounds like a little kid, or whatever. And some people the other way, right? They have a good voice, but they don't read so well. They don't pronounce so well the words. So we want both, right? We want both of those things. Ragir Nikrot says also he's regular to read in the Bible. Okay, very good. So we got that. That's the Shulchan Aruch. Let's see if there's another one here. So says Shulchan Aruch like this: Im en motzin mi sheyeh bo kol hamidot haelu. So if you don't find somebody who has all these qualities, yibcheru hatov shebetzibur. Let him find, let him take the one who's the best guy there. By default, right? We go with the default option. We don't have a guy who has all these qualities, so we go with the guy who's the most God-fearing, good person, whatever. God, nice Jew, good Jew, right? That's the idea. What does that mean? Chochma masim tovim. He has wisdom and good deeds, right? So says the Rama, v'im haya kan am aretz zaken v'kolo na'im v'am chapetzim bo uben yud gimel shana hamevin ma sheomer ben kolo na'im katan hu kodem. So the Rama says an interesting comparison over here, comparison test, right? What about if you have a little bit of a comparison? What does that mean? That one guy is amaretz, right? Ignorant. He doesn't really read much, He's not very well read in Bible, but he's got a good voice, knockout voice, right? Knocks you out with his voice. And people like him, So he does have that quality. Not very well learned, but good voice. People like him. But there's also another guy, right, who's 13 years old, just turned bar mitzvah, right? But he does understand, what he's reading. In other words, he's a little bit well read, right? He knows what he's talking about. He knows the verses, so he's more learned, right? So basically, that's the idea, right? Ben Kolonaim, but his voice is not so good. So who comes first, right? The guy with a good voice who doesn't know nothing, or this guy, this young tyke, 13 years old, who knows what he's reading, and his voice is not so good. So says Ramah, the little boy takes it right over here, the little guy. Why is that? Because the knowledge is more important than anything else. It's more important than the good voice, right? And that the charm, handsome, all this stuff, right? Who cares about that? The most important thing is that he should be knowledgeable. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah. So says the Rama something interesting, right? Let's say a person did a sin, but it was inadvertent. He didn't know. He didn't know that you're not allowed to shave with a razor. So he was shaving with a razor. Wow, something even worse. So he says, let's say he killed somebody. bishgaga, right? But it was inadvertent, right? He didn't know that the guy was going to die. So it was inadvertent murder. And then he repented, right? He did teshuvah. Mutar liot shliach tzibur. Says Rama, he's allowed to be chazan, shliach tzibur. So somebody who killed inadvertently, right, and did teshuvah, he's allowed to come in. But says Rama, if he killed somebody on purpose, he should never be shliach tzibur. This guy, right? Hashem yirachem. God help us. Kol makom, he says yatsa alav shem ra kodem teshuvah. Why is that? Because he already has a bad name. Can you imagine? He killed somebody. You know what I mean? So how can you bring somebody like that to be chazan, right? Even if he did teshuvah, he'll always have a name of a murderer. He killed somebody. That name will never go away. Yeah, pretty sharp words. The truth is, as we said, right, that we talked about this, by the way, before a little bit. The rule is like this, that a Baal Tshuva is allowed to be Chazan. Somebody who did Teshuvah, he wasn't such a good boy, he was doing some bad things. But here we're talking about somebody who killed, which is like a very big sin, which is hard to erase that. So that's already something else, that's very severe. But if we're talking about something more light, let's say he was smoking marijuana, and what do you call it? Going to some bars, whatever, picking up girls, whatever. So that okay, we can forgive him for that. He did teshuvah, whatever. Okay, fine. But somebody who killed, that's already it's beyond. It's a tough threshold to come back. That's what the Rama is saying. Okay, that's that, right? So let's go on a little bit. Right, so says Shulchan Aruch. Also, as we said, we require that somebody has a full beard. Why? So what's the reason? So he says because of the honor of the community, right? In other words, we don't want somebody who looks like a child going up there, and praying for the community. It's like, it looks ridiculous. As if like he's the leader of the community, You don't look like a leader. You look like a kid. Right? But it says, but once in a while, as long as he has two pubic hairs, you can be chazan once in a while. But they shouldn't appoint him. Or from the shliach tzibur, the chazan who appoints him, to be like a backup guy, right? To back him up when he doesn't show up. To pray for him at certain times, So we don't want that, right? Even that we don't want. He should be appointed even, just to be like a relief chazan. Somebody relieves the other one in times of need, right? Whatever. Even that we don't want. So a guy like that who doesn't have a full beard, he should only pray once in a while, once a month, whatever, as an example, right? Whatever it is. Okay, we're almost finished, right? That's good. Let's see what else we got here. So this one we'll do next time, but just to tell you the story, right? What happened over there is this, right? There was a wicked king, Achav. So he was the king of Israel in the time where Eliyahu Navi was a prophet, and that period. So what happened was that he was a very wicked king. He was a big sinner, So he lived in the valley of Israel, the valley of Jezreel, right? They call it, whatever, in English. It's a very beautiful place, by the way, like gorgeous, It's a gorgeous area. It's in the north. So that was his kingdom, in the north. He wasn't in Jerusalem. He was from the northern kingdom. So what happened was that he had a neighbor, his name was Navot. This guy, who was a chazan. So he had a neighbor, and this neighbor, what happened was that he had a field right next to the palace of the king, So the king was like eyeing this field, He wanted to get it for himself. He wanted to make like a orchard there or some kind of a thing or whatever, right? Some kind of garden he wanted to make there. So he was always eyeing this piece of land. So one time he called Navot, and told him, he says, do me a favor, like, will you sell me your land? Because I just want to, I want to annex this land to my palace and make it into a garden, Will you do it for me? So what happened was that he told him, no way, your honor the king, I'm sorry, but this is my forefathers' inheritance that I got, from when we came to Eretz Israel, from Egypt. You think I'm going to give up this land? This is my inheritance. I can't give up this land for you. So Ahab was very disappointed, when he told him this. So what happened was that he went home, and he looked very depressed. He was like down. So his wife, was Izebel, Jezebel, she was a very wicked lady, this lady, very wicked, very, very sinful lady. So what happened was that she asked him, why are you so depressed? What happened to you? So he says, this guy won't sell me his land, I asked him, he won't sell it to me. I feel down. So he says, don't worry. Told him, I'll get it for you. You what kind of king are you? You don't have to run business over here. He says, I'll get it for you. Don't worry. Consider it done. So what did she do, right? She went and she told some wicked people, some evil people, to testify against this guy that he, cursed God and cursed the king, which is liable to death if you do that, right? So they testified against him that he did that. He never did it. They framed him, there's all kinds of, there was also the Department of Justice at that time, same thing, right? So, so what happened was that they framed him. They testified against him. They killed him. They killed him because of they said he cursed the king and the king cursed God. So what happened was that after they killed him, comes Jezebel, Izebel, right, and tells Ahab, her husband, okay, I got the land for you. He's dead. The guy's dead. Go and take it now. It's yours. This is what you wanted, no? So Ahab goes over there, to take the land, So Hashem, right, Kadosh Baruch Hu told Eliyahu Navi, right, the prophet, he told him, he says, Ahab is going now to take the land over there, So go tell him, no. I know what you did. I know you killed that guy, right? Shame on you. You're going to be killed also. All your family's going to die. So he went over there and he told Ahab, he says, what happened, right? You killed and then you inherited the land too? You're going to give judgment for that. So that's what happened, right? So that's how this guy died. So right now we learn what was the sin that he had. The sin was that he didn't go to the temple to let him hear his voice. Okay? All right, very good. So Chag Sameach should have a good, healthy wealth, health, happiness, all the good things. Great, happy holiday. See you tomorrow. Chazak Baruch. All the best.
Thank you.
God bless.